For the last few days I've been playing Grounded, which is a new early access game made by Obsidian Entertainment. And in this video I'm just going to be sharing my first initial thoughts from playing the game, such as story, graphics, sound design, gameplay, and the base building design aspect of it. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you're really wanting to avoid the story aspect of it, even though the story is really minor at the minute, don't watch this video. And the first thing that I am going to talk about is the story. All I'm going to say is, if you are wanting a story-based game, at the moment this game probably isn't for you. The story is very short, and by very short I mean you think it's the tutorial, but it's actually completely finished short. I ended up wandering around thinking eventually some random quest is going to pop up and it's going to continue the story because you found something. That never happened. And then I realised at one point it does actually tell you the story's finished. And I completely missed it because it's right at the top and I was busy reading the actual story content, not the little bar at the top. So that's kind of my own fault. But you have to remember that this is an early access game. The story not being finished isn't the end of the world. It will get completed at some point. And I'm not going to mark them down for not completing the story either, because the game's not even close to being finished. But one thing I hope we can all agree on is that the graphics really fit the style of this game. They look incredibly good. Like, I think we're all on the same page when I say this is the perfect art style for this game. Through the day it's very vibrant and rich, but when it gets to night time it gets a lot more gloomy and actually has aspects of horror in terms of it's very uncomfortable to walk around. As you can see here, I got stuck without a torch, so I'm just kind of wandering around aimlessly trying to find my way safely back to my base, and it's genuinely hard to see. And then you might hear a noise, or you might not hear a noise, and then casually there'll just be some red eyes that'll creep you the hell out and you'll have to run away. So my advice from my own mistake would be always have a torch. Don't get stuck without a torch, or you'll just want to cry and curl up into a ball. But in terms of gameplay, it's all very standard for survival games. You have hunger, you have thirst, you have health, you have stamina, and those kind of play off of each other. Obviously, if you lose all your health, you die and you have to respawn. You will also have limited stamina if you don't eat properly and don't drink, etc. Those will also kill you if they go to the extremes. And in the combat side of things, it's very basic. It's kind of like a melee or block and attack system where you can do a superior hit, I suppose, as you could call it that, if you charge it. And you can do that just by holding the left mouse button or controller trigger, I'm assuming it is if you use a controller. There's also a lot of different effects you can inflict as well, like poison, you can stun them. If you do a perfect block, it also kind of knocks them back a little bit. And all the different armor sets also give you different bonuses. At the moment, there's not really a complete list of what they do precisely. People have kind of just guessed at some of them. Some are slightly obvious, some don't really make any sense. Like the one I had for the Acorn armor set is called Unbreakable. Doesn't really tell you what it does. I'm assuming it's something to do with being able to block better. Unsure. The gameplay and combat to me at the minute does feel a little bit repetitive, but again, with it being early access, it's hard to say whether that's because some of the combat and gameplay aspects aren't implemented yet, or whether it's just because of the fact that there's not much to do, so you end up repeating a lot of the same steps. I think if they added in more various types of weaponry, other than like a spear, sword, bow kind of thing. I'm not saying guns, obviously that would be kind of stupid. But if there were more different types of melee weapons, I think it would make it a bit more interactive and interesting to try and change it up every so often. Another aspect to the gameplay is that when you get a new kind of resource, such as this acorn top, you can actually analyze it and it will give you kind of different recipes that you can use, either to improve your quality of life or give you new weaponry or new building things. And you also have a resource in the world called raw science, which you can trade with one of the robots in the laboratory, which give you more designs to unlock. You can get raw science two ways. You can find it out in the world, or you can analyze things and you'll get a small amount for doing so. And I think in the long term of the design, it's probably a really good route to go down, because if you introduce people to, you know, hundreds of designs at the exact same time, it's way too much to learn and kind of use in any meaningful way. So far I've talked about the story, the graphic design and the gameplay aspects of it. However, there is one thing that makes the game completely unique. And to be honest, that's just the idea of the game. There's a lot of survival games, you can fight dinosaurs, you can fight other people, you can fight wolves, bears, various other things. But there is absolutely no other survival game, to my knowledge, that makes you shrink down and fight insects. Not only that, but it's going to have a completely fleshed out story as well with cutscenes, which is also a very nice thing. Because let's be honest, there's a million online survival games that are based around PvP, and most of them are not very good. And if you looked on Steam, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you look in the early access section for survival games, it's just a mountain of crap. In the entire Steam section of online survival PvP, there's probably less than 5 games that are actually worth paying for. Whereas this already looks promising. It's a single player or co-op experience. It's around £25, which I'm assuming is about $30. And for a change, it's actually made by an experienced developer, which is also going to be really nice, because a lot of these new survival games that you see, as I mentioned on Steam, they're usually made by someone who's never made a game before or has very limited experience. Although it is really a roll of the dice as to who you get as a developer. I mean, look at DayZ. What a mess. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is the base building aspect of the game. Other than terrain being a little bit buggy, it's the only part of the game I actually had any issues with. The issue I had so far is that the walls and the doors don't fit flush. The walls are actually a bit too big, so you end up having to push them into the floor, or they will stick up above the floor, above it, if you have stairs. Or the doorways actually are a little bit too big, so the frame sticks out through the floor above as well, which you'll see as I go up here. I'm not sure if this is a known bug, whether it's something I've done, or whether it's just this build of the game seems to do that. I mean, the wall side of things, it looked kind of nice for a roof terrace like this, but in terms of the actual design of the house, it makes it kind of unworkable in some aspects. But really, that is the only issue I've had so far other than terrain. So just to sum up, I think my first impressions really, I would say mainly positive. The graphics fit really well, the game design and the philosophy behind it seemed like it can't really fail. There's not much that could possibly go wrong. I don't think it could end up as a bad game. Not unless they do something incredible to make it bad. I think with more story content to push it along, graphical improvements and optimization, and more insects, I think it could be a really good co-op game. I think anywhere between 6 months and a year, they'll have quite a bit more story content to offer, and it'll draw in a bigger crowd. But I'd definitely say this is one game to watch for the future. If you've been playing Grounded, let me know how you've been getting on, as well as if there's any games you think I've been missing out on and you would recommend them to me, put those in the comments. But I think that's pretty much it for this video, so I hope to see you for the next one.